Hey everyone, welcome back to this part 3 video on building LLM application using GenAI Stack. In this video, we will implement chat with your own document using GenAI Stack. Usually, chat with your document requires a concept called retrieval augmented generation, which has two major components. One is your retrieval part, and one more is your generator part. Retrieval part will return the relevant documents based on user query, and generator will add the intelligence of large language model, and it will take both the context and the prompt and return the response accordingly. So let's understand what retrieval augmented generation is with an example. Suppose you have an external data. It can be anything. It can be PDF, it can be document, it can be website URL, it can be YouTube video. Any external data, you can pick it up. You need to extract the content. And when you extract the text source, it is probably very lengthy. This is where we need to do data pre-processing, mainly text splitting, which is your chunking strategy. You can't pass the entire document into a large language model. You need to pass the specific context. This is where having a smaller chunk will help. And once you have your chunk, it is still in text. You need to convert that into an embedding, which is your vector form. And it can be done using open source embedding models or also few existing embedding models such as OpenAI, Cohere, Hugging Face, Gina. And once you have your vector form, you need to store that in a special databases called vector database that can help you with different search techniques such as similarity search, maximum marginal relevancy search. So this will help you to fetch relevant document compared to whatever user will give the query. So now that you understand how your external data is getting stored into vector database, but where is RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation? Now let's go step by step on what retrieval augmented generation means. In the first step, we have retrieval. A user will come and he'll write a query, and based on this query, you're converting that into a vector form so that you can perform certain search technique within your vector database. Now, suppose I have a document which is a YouTube video, podcast video. And once I ask a user query, I'll ask, what is this video about? It will go to the introduction part of the video and it will return the relevant document. So this part of returning relevant documents is your retrieval. Mainly, it will perform search technique. And the search technique, again, it is part of your vector database features. And once you are getting the relevant document, you should also augment your prompt. Now, there are different prompt techniques that you can use, and each large language model have its own template. That's where whenever a user writes its query, you need to add this query within a prompt template. You can have system prompt, you can have user prompt, and then you have to wait for assistant, which is your AI to generate the response. So once you add this query into the prompt template, now it becomes your augmented prompt. Now what you need to do is from the step one, you need to take this document, relevant document as your context and pass it to a large language model along with your augmented prompt. And this is where it will generate you a response. So this is it from the understanding of what RAG is. Now let's jump into how you can build a pipeline of RAG using GenAI Stack. All right, so let's build our stack now. And in order to build stack, you need to enter app.aiplanet.com. And we have already repeated this twice in our tutorial 1 and tutorial 2. So once you enter the stack dashboard, you need to drag and drop your components. So let's revisit what we did in our slides. First, you have external document, then you have chunking, then you have embedding, and then you have a vector store. Vector store in the sense vector database. Let's drag and drop these four components. So the first component was the data. And in order to get your data, you need to look into loaders. And you can pick any loader. In our case, my data source will be PDF file. So I need to look into PyPDF loader and just drag and drop. And once you drag and drop, it will ask you an option of upload a file. And if you want to give a metadata to it, by metadata, we mean what is that file about? And I'll upload my file. I'll just upload my resume for time being. And once I upload my file, it should show my file name over here. So once you drag and drop your PDF, you need to know what should be my next component. One way to do it is just to look into this circular icon, hover button, and you need to check for the available output components. Here we have text splitter. Text splitter in the sense you're chunking. So let's look into text splitter, and you will find text splitter in your left hand side. As you can see, this is the text splitter. You just have to drag and drop recursive character text splitter. And when you have a data, you need to create a smaller chunk of it. You need to define a size, that is your chunk size. And now there is one more parameter, that is chunk overlap. Let me tell you how chunk overlap works. When you're converting your large chunk of data into smaller segment, you will have multiple smaller segment. And if you want to retain few of the information in the consecutive chunk, you need to add chunk overlap. If you don't want to retain one chunk information to the consecutive chunk, you can keep your chunk overlap to be 0. And once you do this, you just have to connect your loader to your text splitter. All right, so we are done with the two components. The next two component is embedding, and another component is vector store. All right. So in our case, we'll be using Hugging Face inference embedding because Hugging Face provides free access token and you can utilize the embedding model for free. You can use OpenAI if you have OpenAI API keys, but it's better to use open source models. So in this entire RAG pipeline, we'll be using open source embedding model and open source large language model. Our main focus now will be to choose the inference API from Hugging Face and the model name. And let's pick it. So this is the embedding model that we'll be using, which is BAAI BGE large EN version 1.5. Let me copy this and come back to my GenAI Stack flow. I'll copy this over here. This is the model name. And we'll come to the API key very soon. I'll paste it later in this part of the video. But now let's focus on ChromaDB. ChromaDB is your vector database, again, which is open source. ChromaDB requires a document and it also requires an embedding. So the embedding is converted within the vector database and it is stored it as well. So let's connect the embedding, and also you need to connect the document. Cool. So we have completed the first four basic components that we need to build a RAG pipeline. Now comes the major part of retrieval augmented generation, that is to connect your retrieval to a generator model. And you can do this with the help of chain. So what you can do is click on chain and drag and drop retrieval QA. And in retrieval QA, as you can see, you have a document chain, you have a memory, which is optional, and then you have a retriever. And now what you need to do is your vector database itself will act as a retriever. So you can just connect your vector store to the chain. And now you need to connect your combined docs chain. That's where you need to click on combined docs chain, drag it over here, and you need to connect your combined docs chain to the retrieval QA. There is one component we are still missing, and that component is the generator part, that is your large language model. And for large language model, again, we will pick an open source one, which is Hugging Face Hub. Let me drag and drop this so that it is very clearly visible to every one of you. All right. So this Hugging Face Hub, I will connect my open source LLM to the combined docs chain. And it also requires a repository ID and the access token. And where do you get that? You can get that on your Hugging Face dashboard. Here I'll click on the repo ID again. This is the repo ID for the large language model. We will use Zephyr 7 billion parameter model that is fine-tuned by Hugging Face on the Mistral model. Let's come back to the GenAI Stack and paste the repository ID. So one last thing that is pending is you need to add your access token. So where do you get the access token? You need to enter Hugging Face, create your account. And once you create your account, you need to go to settings and generate a new token. Let me copy my token and come back very soon. So, all right. So as you can see, I've copied my access token to Hugging Face API token. And I will also add it in the Hugging Face inference embedding. All right. So now that I've added my access token, I need to build the stack. So let's click on build the stack. Initially, it's going to take some time to index your data because you are converting your data into embedding and then storing it. This will take few seconds until it is creating the index for you. And please note, this is just one time process. The next time when you run your application, you're just using the same index that you have already used. So if you are uploading a new document, then you need to re-index it again. That means, suppose I am uploading my resume now. The next time when I upload my resume, it is gonna be very quick because it will fetch from the vector database. If I upload any other document, it will create a new index for it, and then you need to use the chat interface. So as you can see, we have already completed the flow. The stack is already built. You can use your chat interface over here, and the build was success. And also, it didn't took that much of time. I'll just ask what, or I'll just ask where does Tarun work currently? Let's see if it is gonna answer this query or not. Let's wait for a few seconds. Great. It is correct. As you can see, I'm wearing AI Planet t-shirt. Tarun works currently in AI Planet in Belgium as a developer relations and community manager. This information can be found in the given context. That's correct. And yeah, you can play around with multiple prompts given in your context, and you can just use a different loader. We used PDF. You can try with YouTube. You can try with website and so on. You can also experiment with different large language model. You have Gemma by Google, you have OpenAI, and you can just explore which is giving us a better result. So this is it from this video. I hope you understood what RAG is and how you can build a RAG pipeline using GenAI Stack. Stay tuned for more videos. We will release more RAG based application in the coming part of this tutorial series. Until then, do subscribe and check out the links in the description. Thank you so much.